on Facebook, and it has been shared nearly 8,000 times. While wearing socks in the pool may sound strange to you, Porter says they've never had issues before. She says the real issue is the way the manager handled this situation.
On a sweltering afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood, what should have been an ordinary, peaceful day at a gated community pool turned into a confrontation that would soon spiral across the internet. A young couple walked in carrying towels, a Bluetooth speaker, and a small cooler, laughing as they settled into lounge chairs near the water. Within minutes, a woman sitting across the deck began staring intensely, her body rigid, her expression tightening with each passing second. She stood up, marched over, and without introducing herself, demanded to know which unit they lived in. The couple responded calmly, giving their building number and explaining they had keycard access. That should have been the end of it. Instead, she folded her arms and delivered a sentence that has become all too familiar in viral confrontations.
No problem. Yeah, that's no problem, Wade. She had no problem till the black people came to the pool. I don't know what kind of issue she may be trying to make, but I will definitely be recording this. I think she's calling the police because he has on socks. Oh, let me zoom out. Socks. They have on, she said, proper pool attire. Proper pool attire is right there in the pool rules. So she's basically saying no hats, no shirts, no socks. We have two men who are her.
You don't belong here. Her voice cut through the air sharply enough that nearby swimmers turned their heads. And just like that, an ordinary summer moment became Incident 1. The woman insisted she was protecting the community, repeating that she had never seen them before, and that they needed to prove they were residents. The couple remained composed, explaining that they paid HOA fees just like everyone else, and had every right to enjoy the shared space. Someone nearby began recording as the woman escalated, threatening to call the police if they did not leave immediately. When officers arrived, they calmly asked questions, verified residency through identification and keycard access logs, and quickly determined that the couple had done nothing wrong. The accuser, however, continued arguing with law enforcement, claiming she felt unsafe despite the complete lack of evidence suggesting any threat. Her insistence, even after official clarification, highlighted the deeper issue at play, the assumption that familiarity equals belonging and unfamiliarity equals intrusion. The footage spread rapidly, with viewers dissecting not only her words, but her unwavering confidence in authority she did not actually possess. Incident 2 unfolded in another state, but followed a strikingly similar script. A former black law enforcement officer was relaxing poolside in his own residential complex when a woman approached him demanding to see proof that he lived there. The irony was unmistakable. A man who had once worn a badge and upheld the law was now being interrogated in a space he legally occupied. He asked her calmly why she felt entitled to question him, and whether she was approaching every other resident with the same scrutiny. She responded vaguely about security concerns and people sneaking in, yet her attention appeared selectively focused. The exchange, captured on video, showed his composure contrasting sharply with her agitation. When neighbors intervened and confirmed his residency, the confrontation shifted from accusation to embarrassment, though the woman never fully acknowledged wrongdoing. The video ignited conversations online about how authority is often self-appointed and how bias can masquerade as vigilance. Incident 3 became one of the most widely circulated Pool Karen episodes, involving a woman later identified publicly as Blair Featherman. In the footage, she aggressively confronted a black teenager at a community pool, demanding to know where he lived and physically blocking his path. At one point, she attempted to grab his belongings, insisting that she had the right to enforce pool rules. The teenager repeatedly explained that he was a resident and that his family lived in the community, but her disbelief seemed rooted not in policy, but perception. Bystanders began recording as her voice grew louder and her accusations more personal. The video went viral almost instantly, prompting widespread outrage. Employers, neighbors, and national media outlets picked up the story, transforming what might once have been dismissed as a local dispute into a national reckoning about entitlement and racial bias in shared spaces.
They're trashy, they're nasty, and they don't belong here. I pay for this.
Incident 4 introduced an even more troubling dynamic when footage surfaced of a woman confronting a paralyzed swimmer at a community pool. The man, who used mobility aids and required assistance entering the water, was approached and questioned about his right to be there, despite visible evidence that he was a resident with proper access. The accuser claimed she was simply ensuring rules were followed, yet her tone and persistence suggested something more accusatory than procedural.
So we got this lane reserved, right? Right, boss?
Yeah, I put your name here.
You see? Yeah, I thought so. with nobody. You're the one with the problems. You want a whole lane by yourself. That don't make no sense.
Bystanders stepped in, challenging her logic and pointing out the cruelty of questioning someone who was clearly there legitimately. The video sparked outrage not only because of the confrontation itself, but because of the apparent lack of empathy displayed. The idea that someone would target a paralyzed swimmer under the guise of community protection struck viewers as particularly disturbing, intensifying the broader conversation about who feels empowered to police others. Incident 5 captured a powerful moment when a black homeowner confronted a woman who had accused him of trespassing at his own pool. The homeowner calmly explained that he owned the property, paid dues, and had lived there for years. The woman's disbelief lingered even after he showed proof of residency, reflecting a psychological barrier that facts alone struggled to break. As neighbors gathered and confirmed his identity, the narrative flipped. The man stood firm, refusing to leave or apologize, asserting his rights with measured clarity. The confrontation, once one-sided, became a public exposure of misplaced suspicion. Online viewers praised his composure and refusal to be intimidated, noting how dignity can serve as a powerful counterweight to baseless accusation. Incident 6 escalated to the point of arrest. In this case, a woman at a residential pool became so disruptive and aggressive toward fellow residents that law enforcement officers eventually placed her in handcuffs for disorderly conduct. Body camera footage showed officers repeatedly instructing her to step back and disengage, yet she continued shouting that she was being threatened and that she was simply enforcing community standards. Her refusal to comply shifted the focus from her original complaint to her behavior itself.
Take your sister right now! Don't you ever put your hands on my son! Actually, I will call the police and I will have you arrested for putting your hands on a minor. That's what I'm going to do. Good. Get out of my face, lady! I don't even know you. Get out of my face!
Come here.
And you're going to jail because she just put her hands on my son.
Watching the situation unfold, viewers saw how quickly someone who believed they were the enforcer could become the subject of enforcement. The arrest became symbolic, illustrating that weaponizing emergency services carries consequences. Incident 7 unfolded more subtly, but was no less revealing. A couple relaxing poolside began hearing comments spoken just loudly enough to be overheard about people who don't live here and security problems lately. When they addressed the remarks directly, asking if there was a concern, the speaker denied targeting them specifically. The ambiguity allowed her to maintain plausible deniability while still creating an atmosphere of exclusion. Other residents observed the exchange, recognizing the coded language and the discomfort it generated. The incident highlighted how discrimination does not always manifest as overt accusation. Incident 8 came months later when one of the women involved in a viral pool confrontation appeared in an interview expressing regret. She stated that she was embarrassed by her rant and claimed that stress and misunderstanding had influenced her reaction. While some viewers appreciated the acknowledgement of wrongdoing, others questioned whether remorse would have surfaced without the intense public backlash. The interview underscored the complicated nature of viral accountability in the digital age, where actions captured in seconds can define reputations for years. It also illustrated how public scrutiny can prompt reflection, though the sincerity of such reflections often remains debated. Across all 8 incidents, a pattern emerges that transcends individual personalities and locations. Community pools, meant to serve as shared spaces for relaxation and recreation, repeatedly become stages for confrontation rooted in assumptions about belonging. The phrase, "you don't belong here," echoes across videos as a declaration not of policy, but of perceived ownership. In nearly every case, the accuser lacked official authority, yet acted with absolute certainty, suggesting that the power dynamic was psychological rather than procedural. Smartphones played a crucial role in shifting outcomes, ensuring that narratives were not controlled solely by the loudest voice present, but by recorded evidence accessible to millions. These moments reveal how quickly leisure environments can transform into battlegrounds over identity and entitlement. The pool deck becomes more than concrete and water. It becomes symbolic territory where unspoken hierarchies surface. The individuals targeted often display remarkable restraint, choosing calm articulation over escalation, which in turn magnifies the contrast between accusation and reality. Law enforcement responses, when required, typically emphasize verification and de-escalation rather than validation of suspicion, reinforcing the principle that communal rules apply equally. It was supposed to be just another summer afternoon. Sun high, chlorine in the air, the steady splash of water against concrete. A young couple walked through the gated entrance of their community pool carrying towels and a small cooler, laughing about something that had happened earlier that morning. They tapped their keycard against the scanner, waited for the click, and stepped inside like they had dozens of times before. What they didn't know was that within minutes, they would be at the center of a confrontation that would ripple far beyond that pool deck. She had been watching them, sunglasses on, arms folded, sitting upright in her lounge chair like a guard who never received a badge but believed she deserved one. At first it was just staring, then whispering into her phone. Then she stood up and walked toward them with deliberate purpose. "Excuse me," she said sharply, "which unit do you live in?" The couple exchanged a brief glance, confused but calm. They told her. She didn't believe them. "You don't belong here." That sentence landed heavy, not because of volume, but because of what it implied. She didn't ask for a wristband. She didn't mention pool hours. She didn't reference any posted rule. She simply decided they did not fit her idea of who should occupy that space. Incident 1 escalated quickly. She demanded ID. She accused them of sneaking in. She threatened to call the police. Other residents began recording as the couple tried to de-escalate, repeatedly explaining that they lived there and paid HOA fees like everyone else. When officers arrived, they verified residency within minutes. Keycard logs confirmed entry. Address matched. Case closed, except it wasn't closed. Incident 2 unfolded in a different city, at another community pool that looked almost identical. A former black law enforcement officer was relaxing poolside when a woman approached him and demanded proof that he lived there. The irony was impossible to ignore. A man who had spent years enforcing laws was now being interrogated in his own residential complex. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't escalate. He simply asked her a question. "Are you asking everyone here for proof?" She stumbled over her answer, claimed there had been issues lately, claimed she was just trying to keep things safe. Yet her attention seemed highly selective. Other residents watched quietly until someone finally stepped in and confirmed that he absolutely lived there. But the damage was done. The footage showed something deeper than a residency dispute. It showed how quickly authority can be self-appointed, how suspicion can be aimed in one direction while ignoring others entirely. Then came Incident 3, one of the most viral pool confrontations in recent years. A woman later publicly identified as Blair Featherman aggressively confronted a black teenager at a community pool. She didn't just question him, she blocked him. At one point, she attempted to grab his belongings. She demanded to know where he lived, who his parents were, and why she had never seen him before. Incident 4 shocked viewers for a different reason. A paralyzed swimmer was confronted poolside by a woman questioning whether he really belonged there. The footage showed him with visible mobility challenges, yet she persisted in interrogating him about residency. It wasn't about rules, it was about perception. Bystanders stepped in quickly this time. There was no ambiguity, no gray area, just a woman targeting someone who was clearly entitled to be there. Incident 5 brought the confrontation directly to ownership. A black homeowner was accused of trespassing at his own pool. The video shows him standing firm, explaining that he owned the home, paid the dues, and had every legal right to be there. She didn't believe him, even after he showed proof, even after neighbors confirmed his identity. There was a moment in the footage where you could see the shift. The realization spread across the deck that this wasn't about pool access. Incident 6 escalated further. In this case, the accuser's behavior became so aggressive that police ended up arresting her for disorderly conduct. Body cam footage showed officers repeatedly asking her to calm down and disengage. She refused. She shouted that she was the victim. She insisted she was being threatened. The irony was painful. The person who initiated the confrontation ended up in handcuffs. As long as assumptions about belonging persist, the potential for these poolside clashes remains. And as long as cameras are present, the consequences of those assumptions will continue to unfold in public view.